I haven't yet watched Donald Trump's victory speech, so I suppose we should do that, shouldn't we?
Thank you very much. Wow.
I don't even know whether or not a president has been elected back into office. Has that ever happened in your history? Was it one of them presidents like 200 years ago that are holding a musket in a yellow photograph? That Ulysses St. Martyr, he before was voted back into office.
Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends on this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have. This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again. Oh,
pretty good speech. Not a lot to get anxious about there. I'm trying to think how MSNBC will cut it up, but of course it doesn't matter anymore because he is the president-elect. Some of us that are circumspect will think what's going to happen in the next 75 days between now and the inauguration. If you watch outlier commentators that may yet be the new mainstream, like Alex Jones, they'll say threats of assassination or clerical skullduggery, won't they? Or potential more lawfare. But what are going to be the connotations around the world and across America of this epochal moment? Do you feel like, well, no, actually, they're all the same and the institutions will remain undrained as they did in 2016? Let me know in the comments and chat if you feel optimistic and excited. And let me know how people will keep the government accountable. Do you think that there's a sort of an inertia towards corruption, that inevitably there will be corruption and nepotism and despotism? Let me know what your feelings are and your hopes, or if you are in a kind of joy that a bureaucratic, globalist, corporatist iceberg has just been cracked down the center, that the posers, postures, and the dandies that believe themselves to be advocating for fairness are now quaking, creaking, cracking, and crumbling because of the exposure of the inefficacy of their machine, that you can't control information, you can't control votes, you can't even predict correctly the outcomes of elections. Do you think that this is, as Trump says, a golden dawn? Here's Dana White, a long-time committed supporter of Trump at Mar-a-Lago last night, thanking Joe Rogan. How significant were those endorsements? How significant were the Musk-Vance-Trump interviews? And what does that tell us, again, about the shifting landscape of media? Remember, we were talking about this on the way up. We were saying in 2016, people were staggered and shocked that Trump was able to best Hillary Clinton when the entire media mechanic was maneuvering behind her. People were astonished in my country when people voted to leave Europe, disgusted actually, and you could see their sort of contempt and loathing leaking toxically out when the proletariat, the ordinary working people of Great Britain, refused to do what their overlords commanded and remain in bureaucratic tenure to the EU, another of those agencies like NATO, the WHO, where you're inclined to ask, what have you done for me lately? And the clammy-handed left will claim, didn't we bring you world peace in the post-war era? Well, maybe, or you create a managerial class so that you could continue to manipulate resources without the necessity for bellicosity and war. This is a rejection of all that. This is the moment where we realize that populism, whether you like it or not, has taken over. And that's the nature of populism. You don't have to like it, because if everyone else likes it, that's the way that it goes. So probably what you want is decentralized, maximal, true representative electoral systems. I don't know. That's probably what I would advocate for, because you might want to live in a very different way. And if you truly believe in people's freedom, you believe in their right to do that if they're not hurting you or anyone else. Let's be honest, most K-Cup pods are serving you mouldy, pesticide-laden rubbish. Chains like Dunkin', they're stinking the place out with their stale coffee and expecting you to say cheers. 1775 Coffee makes sure you don't have to drink a chemical soup when you want a caffeine lift. 1775 Coffee steps in to slap the mediocrity right out of the competition. Their K-Cup pods are filled with single origin, high-altitude beans, hand-picked by people who know what flavour actually is. It's coffee that will slap your brain fast awake. Faster, in fact, than a government scandal. Who doesn't need an injection of this new caffeine inflection? Kamala Biden? Get this stuff down here. You've got a choice of medium roast, dark roast and mushroom blend. Yeah, actual mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi to boost your brain power as well as giving you an immediate lift. Because let's be honest, if your coffee isn't strong enough to overthrow a small government, what's the point? This coffee is for people who don't want a participation trophy. This is coffee for winners. Go to 1775coffee.com, grab your 24-pack and tell Corporate Coffee to take a hike. That's go to 1775coffee.com, grab your 24-pack and tell Corporate Coffee to take a hike. Caffeine that will help you overthrow the powerful. Let's see what Dana White had to say about Joe Rogan's impact. Let's face it, the totem at the center of new and emergent media.
Nobody deserves this more than him, and nobody deserves this more than his family does. This is what happens when the machine comes after you. What you've seen over the last several years, this is what it looks like. Couldn't stop him. He keeps going forward. He doesn't quit. He's the most resilient, hard-working man I've ever met in my life. His family are incredible people. This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves this. They deserve it as a family. I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelk Boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, Bustin' with the Boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan. And thank you, America. Thank you. Have a good night.
It's a new world now, and if it takes the shape that Bannon is predicting, Steve Bannon is a man who's just done 4 months in jail, and he's still got a little bit of that jail on him, let me tell you, because when he talks about the likely consequences of this victory, there is more than a little steel in his response, I would say, potentially, to what he has just endured. Check this.
You stole the 2020 election. You've mocked and ridiculed and put people in prison and broken people's lives because you said this thing was stolen. This entire phony thing is getting swept out. Biden's getting swept out. Kamala Harris is getting swept out. MSNBC is getting swept out. The Justice Department's getting swept out. The FBI is getting swept out. You people suck, okay? And now you're going to pay the price for trying to destroy this country. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to get to the bottom of where are the 600,000 votes. You manufactured them to steal this election from President Trump in 2020. And think where this country would be if we hadn't gone through the last 4 years of your madness, okay? You don't deserve any respect, you don't deserve any empathy, and you don't deserve any pity. And if anybody gives it to you, it's Donald J. Trump, because he's got a big heart and he's a good man. A good man that you're still going to try to put in prison on the 26th of this month. This is how much you people suck. Okay? You've just tried to destroy his business thing, and he came back in the greatest show of political courage, I think, in world history. Like Cincinnatus coming back from the plow. He's the American Cincinnatus. And what he has done is a profile in courage. We've had his back, but I got to tell you, he may be empathetic. He may have a kind heart. He may be a good man, but we're not, okay? And you deserve, as Natalie Winters says, not retribution, justice. But you deserve what we call rough Roman justice, and we're prepared to give it to you. So
extraordinary, really. Extraordinary to see that. I mean, have you ever been in a position where you've been beaten up physically? I have. And like, there's a moment maybe where you think, hold on a minute, I might win this. Say if you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or if you've been in fights in other circumstances and you're on the wrong side of it. And then there's a moment of like, hold on a minute, they've run out of breath. Yes, this is amazing. Steve Bannon's clearly in that state. And probably a lot of you are you? Americans, you feel like you've been vilified, victimized, condemned and criticized. And all of a sudden you seem to have the upper hand. Well, what would the right way, the principled way, the ethical way, the spiritual way to handle that be? Well, I suppose it would be this. Even though this is a very exciting moment, a carnival, if you will, a festival, a seeming cessation in the normal, a transition, we are still right now in infinite space. The recently discovered miracles of the quantum world, and I use that word deliberately, are still in effect now. Quantum entanglement appears to be real, and from my limited understanding of chemistry and the material world and the cosmos, and because of my experience of being a human being and pain and suffering and being lied about and being attacked, I have reached the conclusion, I have been dragged to the conclusion that God is real. And if God is real, there's a kind of fraternity and sisterhood among us all. We are a common human family. And whilst tribal delight might be stitched into the makeup of our survival, conciliation must be stitched into the makeup of our advancement. Perhaps this new post-shooting in the lobe Donald Trump is a leader that we can rely on to bring about conciliation, reconciliation. Did you see the Candace Owens post? What time does The View come on? I've never wanted to watch it more, because this is going to be a time of reconciliation for Joe Scarborough, Rachel Maddow, Whoopi Goldberg, for Cenk, for all of the people on legacy media, all of the people in the political class, the Obamas, the Clintons. Perhaps this is a moment where you've got to be big enough and gracious enough. These are just questions I'm putting to you. I'm a visitor in your beautiful country, where we say, okay, forgiveness now. Trump's in charge. Bobby Kennedy is going to completely reevaluate and revolutionize health in America. Health is not going to be about pharma. Health is going to be about wellness and metabolic health. As Callie Means said, people are going to be directed to eat good food. That's going to be crazy, because Trump loves a Mackie D's, don't he? People are going to be directed to try and heal themselves by getting outside and breathing and doing exercise, like Joe Rogan was saying during the pandemic. This is a different reality. But part of that reality, I would contest, is going to involve mass forgiveness and mass understanding. Like me, a recent Christian, how can I condemn people who are like, Christianity, that don't make sense? Me, a person who was part of the champagne socialism set, how can I be critical of people that are like, oh my God, Donald Trump, he's the new Hitler. He said he was going to make himself dictator on day one, because they believe stuff that they were told by legacy media. They believe stuff they were told by universities. They believe stuff they were told by a propaganda machine. And if we're going to do our jobs properly as members of this new set of independent movements that's sure now to spread like a glorious and radiant fire across the world, where you will see freedom movements in the UK, they're not going to put up with bureaucratic claptrap. It will spread to Canada, to France, and across the world. This must be undertaken with grace, not with anger, even though I understand that anger might be part of it. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and chat.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.